There were signs, but I truly thought for the first time in my life, I worked so hard at something. I was so good at something. Everybody acknowledged that I was, that they couldn't fire me, that they wouldn't fire me. Even in trying to adjust to be at least more of what certain people wanted, they still fired me. Gotten some heads up. I mean, summer ago, Stephen A sat with me, took me to lunch in Los Angeles. And he told me, he said, there's a particular executive that doesn't like you. Now, let me be honest. I had been hearing this for years, right? It had gotten to me so many times. And so having that dinner or that lunch with Stephen A was just confirmation of it. He's like, you need to go set a meeting. But so many times, and this kid, from the West Bank, is like so accepted in New Orleans now. Like, I wouldn't change that, never. Like, all I ever wanted to do was be accepted, and want it. So yeah, like that.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Listen to this, because this story took another unexpected turn. Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor finally addressed everything that happened after last Monday's shocking viral moment. That's the incident where Ryan Clark disappeared from ESPN's NFL Live in real time after a commercial break, and reports immediately started spreading that he had been removed from the show. Within minutes, social media exploded because viewers noticed he never returned to the broadcast. People everywhere were asking the same question. Hold up, what just happened? That's exactly why the story blew up online. It wasn't just about someone leaving a show. It was the timing, the confusion, and the fact that nobody watching had any answers at that moment. Now, I already covered this situation, and a lot of people pushed back on my opinion about Ryan Clark getting emotional during the discussion on his own podcast. Let's be clear, that show isn't produced by ESPN. It's Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor doing their own thing, and they've built a successful platform that's clearly connecting with people. No one's taking that away from them. My issue has never been with their success. What caught my attention was how some viewers reacted to my comments. If it's only one or two people disagreeing, that's normal. But when a large number of people miss the point, I think it's worth explaining the full context behind what I actually meant. Here's where I think the conversation gets interesting. In my opinion, Ryan Clark probably shouldn't have brought up Stephen A. Smith by name during that discussion. The moment he mentioned that a certain executive didn't like him, and then explained how Stephen A. had always supported him, it naturally pulled Stephen A. directly into the story. I didn't spend much time on that in my original video because I made a conscious decision not to go too deep while covering breaking news. But during my live stream, where there was more time for discussion, I explained exactly why I felt that way. I said, man, that probably wasn't the best move. From my perspective, mentioning Stephen A. publicly could create the impression that he was working behind the scenes to protect Ryan Clark inside ESPN, whether that's fair or not. Ryan Clark even explained that Stephen A. Smith had reached out before and basically told him, if they ever cut your role back, I've got 2 days a week waiting for you on First Take. That's someone offering support and looking out for a colleague. Stephen A. was essentially saying, I've got your back if things go sideways. But once that conversation became public, it opened the door for people inside the company to interpret it however they wanted. And here's the reality, Stephen A. Smith has repeatedly said that he's committed to doing whatever his employer expects from him. He's openly described himself as a company guy whose job is to help the business succeed. I disagree with Stephen A. Smith on plenty of issues, and I've criticized him many times over the years. But I'm also not going to ignore the fact that, based on Ryan Clark's own story, Stephen A. appeared to be trying to help him. That's why I believe publicly bringing his name into the conversation wasn't the smartest decision. Now let's talk about the part that created the biggest debate, Ryan Clark becoming emotional. People keep saying he wasn't crying because of ESPN or because of losing that job. I understand why some viewers see it that way. But listen to this. No matter how you frame it, the reason everyone watched that interview in the first place was because of what happened with ESPN. The entire conversation existed because he had been taken off the show. That's the event that made the interview newsworthy. Whether his emotions were about the job itself, the relationships, the experience, or something deeper is open to interpretation. But for the audience watching, everything comes back to the same central story: his departure from ESPN. Listen to this, because this is where the conversation becomes even more controversial. Ryan Clark used the term "buck breaking" during the interview, arguing that the way everything unfolded was meant to send a message. Whether you agree with that interpretation or not, that's how he described what happened. Now, here's my perspective. I've been a full-time YouTube creator for years. I've recorded hundreds of interviews, countless live streams, and thousands of videos. Once you hit that record button, you always have a choice. You can edit something out or leave it in for the world to see. That's why I believe every creator has to think carefully about what they're putting on camera. From my point of view, when you choose to show yourself at your most emotional, people will naturally interpret it in different ways. Some will see honesty, others will see vulnerability, and critics may see it as proof that the situation affected you deeply. Ryan Clark spent 13 seasons in the NFL before building another successful career with ESPN that lasted more than a decade. That's an incredible run by any standard. He's accomplished more than most people ever will, and there's no denying that. Whether ESPN treated him fairly is a separate conversation. If mistakes were made, it's fair to criticize them. But at the end of the day, ESPN is still a private company that makes its own business decisions, and that's simply the reality of how corporate media works. Ryan himself acknowledged that companies create the rules, approve the content, and ultimately decide who stays and who goes. Even if only a few executives influence those decisions, the people at the top still have the final word. You can speak out publicly, criticize management, or defend yourself in the media, but none of that changes who controls the employment decision. That's why I think it's important to understand how these situations work behind the scenes. Was there a plan to move on from Ryan Clark? Maybe, that's possible. But let's also be honest about something else. Television is driven by business, ratings, contracts, and financial priorities. That doesn't automatically mean someone lacks talent. A person can be an outstanding analyst and still become expendable if executives believe they can replace that role. Now, I'm not saying Ryan Clark wasn't valuable or that he didn't deserve his position. I'm saying the people making those decisions may have believed they could move in another direction. If they disagreed with certain opinions he expressed or felt another personality better fit their strategy, that's the route they chose. That's how corporations often operate, whether people like it or not. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that's the business. I'm not here to tell you what sounds good. I'm here to give you the perspective I honestly see. Here's the part that stands out to me the most. People keep making this debate entirely about whether showing emotion is a sign of weakness. But my bigger point is this: Ryan Clark already has something many creators would love to have. The Pivot podcast is already an established brand with a massive audience. If you already own a successful platform, why not use that momentum to build something even bigger? Imagine launching your own independent YouTube channel the very next day, posting your first statement, and telling everyone exactly where to find you. With Ryan Clark's reputation, connections, and name recognition, that channel could attract hundreds of thousands of subscribers almost immediately. You can't buy that kind of publicity. Sometimes the biggest setback becomes the biggest opportunity if you know how to flip the narrative. And that's what makes this situation so fascinating. Ryan Clark already has years of media experience, an audience that knows him, strong relationships throughout sports, and the financial resources to start something on his own. Those are advantages that most people who lose a job simply don't have. He has connections with major athletes, media personalities, executives, and business partners that are worth far more than money alone. That's why this story isn't just about losing a position at ESPN. It's also about what comes next. Sometimes the next chapter ends up being even bigger than the one that just closed. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to subscribe for more sports news, analysis, and commentary.